when when God gives you when life gives you lemons, God makes lemonade. This episode is about parenthood and how you can do everything you can for your kids, and sometimes the answer is just to offer it up to God. I'm going to be recounting a scenario that we encountered as a family in the past month that was initially heartbreaking, but slowly but surely, actually pretty quickly, it became pretty evident that God was really answering some prayers instead. And this episode would not be possible if it was not for our sponsors at Black Oswald Coffee. Black Oswald Coffee is the bold taste that not only replenishes your energy, invigorates your self care, but for every drop you drink, it does benefit those undergoing mental health journeys. And not only can you help them by shopping at blackoswaldcoffeecode.com using code AWESOME15, you can also partner with Black Oswald Coffee Company to start your own fundraiser for your favorite cause in regards to mental health. Now, I'm going to tell you two scenarios. These are pretty personal, but first, sometimes I feel like I'm talking to myself, and quite frankly, it helps me because I think nobody's listening to my show, and then I get messages that say, "Oh, I listened to your episode. I loved it, and here's what I loved about it." And when I get those, it is really, quite frankly, humbling and encouraging. And so while it actually helps me to think nobody's listening, I can just say whatever, nobody can actually hear me. At the same time, getting those messages from you is really heartwarming. And so if you're listening, can you please take a minute to send me a message? If you're listening on a platform that does allow you to comment, go ahead and just comment, say, I'm here, I'm listening to the whole thing. I'm not just hopping on to say I'm here and then hopping off. And then if you're listening on a platform that does not allow you to comment, please just make sure that you've left that 5-star review, and please do subscribe to the show to get the first notices of when we have new episodes, and so you can keep listening and listening and listening more and more and more. I'm your host, Marta Saray Greca. I am a financial rep. I help families account for every dollar, how to grow it, how to protect it. I don't come at it from having lived a perfect life. I come at it from having put quite a bit of dumpster fires, financial ones, put out a bunch of financial dumpster fires in the past, I would say, few decades. And so I've learned a lot, and I get to be a loving, non-judgmental space for those who want to go through their finances and invest and have the proper life insurance. And in addition to that, this show is produced by Whole Truth Communications. Whole Truth Communications is my content creation business through which we mostly create Instagram reels. So, Media the Creative Agency is in the back, just an homage to my previous marketing agency model that I did close, but that'll stay in there just to remind me of the good times. Okay, so let me tell you about the two things that happened. And I talked about this on Denise Stifler's show, From Rundown to Renewed. And I also talked about this on Christine Furman's show. And if you don't know them, please search them up, follow them on social media. So what happened was that last year, for years, my kids were on a waiting list for this school that's highly coveted in the area and has a really great reputation. People move from other cities to get their kids into the school. We were on the waiting list, and finally there was room for the kids to go to the school. So and when they were continuously on this waiting list, my husband really wanted to get them into the school. They were at a school that I thought was wonderful, and I loved it, and it was a great community. But he felt very strongly that he wanted them to go to this school when the spots finally opened up. So I did everything I could, guys, financially, paperwork, letters, emails, meetings, phone calls to get them into that school. Finally got them in last year. And it was touch and go. It was like, well, everybody says the school is great, so it must be great. But it was a really challenging time for one of my kids. Another one of my kids really didn't make any deep connections. And when I tried really hard to foster those connections, there was a little bit of hesitation. It wasn't like open arms. It was like, yeah, sure, but just like she just kept asking to have play dates with her real connections that she had made at her previous school. And then one of my kids, he's just happy go lucky. He made a really great friend that I think that family will be friends for life. We're going to be friends for life. I just love them so much. And among other connections. And then it takes us forever, I feel like every year, to do our taxes. And in order for my kids to be able to go to such beautiful schools, as much as I like to say, my business is going well and it's growing, and my husband has this land development empire, and we live in a beautiful home. We do have 7 kids, and sending them to private school, as many or at least half of them, whatever it is, it does add up. So in order for them to go to this school, I did a tremendous amount of paperwork, a tremendous amount of correspondence to get them scholarships so that we could make it happen for our family. And we redid our taxes, needed to reapply, and for whatever reason, I think partly that, and also I think partly there's been a restructure of also the tuition, how that works for the Catholic schools in the area. And it was just the way that the timing worked out was like, hey, it's going to actually be this really high amount for them to go to school at the school, and you need it to do it today because you're already like, I don't actually personally believe in being behind, but basically like you're already like past the time that we would have wanted this to be taken care of, which we were waiting on because we didn't know what the actual payment would be. But I'm giving you too much information, but that's usually what my MO is. And the reason that I do that is because I believe that talking about money should be done on a daily basis. And instead of it being something that people are ashamed about, or they keep it hush hush, or it's taboo, I think you should talk about money, because I think that there's a lot more going on behind the scenes in people's families. And the more that we talk about it, the more that it'll normalize it, and the more that we can find solutions for one another, and the more that we can foster real relationships, which is probably why I don't actually fit in the real world, because I'm pretty awkward. And some would say, I'm trauma dumping here, but hey, it is my podcast, so I can say what I want to say, right? So I digress as usual. And it was basically like a situation where I offered it up to God. I kind of kept extending that because I was offering it up to God. I wasn't sure if it was going to be the right step. And honestly, guys, quite frankly, the amount was so large that I was like, I don't know where that's going to come from. But my usual process with that is I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to offer it up to God. I'm going to do as many touch points as I can with clients, upselling, new projects, and I'm going to leave it up to God. And we have until XYZ to make it happen. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. So then I was, thinking all summer long, I don't want my kids to go back to school. I love having them with me. I have so much fun with them. I don't want to have to wake them up the ass crack of dawn and them give their best selves out there in the world, exhausting themselves and coming home miserable because they're so tired and so overstimulated. And I'm handing them off to people that I think are experts and know how to help them. But in one particular scenario, I honestly felt by the end of the year like, oh, you guys have no idea how to handle this. Got it. And with all the love and all the light, they were doing their best. But I was like, oh, because, you have this perception that you send your kids to school and these experts that are highly educated in the matter, they know better than you how to handle certain situations. And we were faced with a situation where it came to me that, oh, you guys are just trying to figure out as much as I'm trying to figure it out. Okay, got it. So I don't mean to be offensive with that at all. But so, I was like, you know what? I wanted to homeschool them anyways. What if I just homeschool these two? And I just send this one who really, really, really wants to go back. And then I was like, okay, if you do that, you lose all your scholarships, and his amount is still really, really, really high. And we need it today. And it was still like a situation where I was like, okay, that could happen. I could make that happen. But then it was like, it's this really high amount every single month. And this is where it gets important. I need you to listen carefully, because this is where it comes to making big financial decisions. And there is something to be said about, I am not one to be faced with a large ticket item that I have something that I really want and go, I can't afford it. It's not in the budget. It's too much. At the same time, it is helpful to your psyche and to your nervous system and energetically to move forward with confidence and expansion and excitement, and not something that's out of fear and frantic and you have no idea how you're going to make it happen from a place of nervousness rather than a place of I'm excited but I know that God will find, when I see no way, I know God will make a way. But you really have to feel yourself for that, and you really have to feel into it with God and prayer, because you could move forward with that and set yourself up for a nervous breakdown every month, every time this large amount is due that you're not quite sure. I have two beautiful businesses. My husband has a land development endeavor, and they are growing beautifully, but there is something also to be said about, I don't exactly have a plan how that payment is going to be made every month. I know that God would provide, but I also knew that I would be moving forward from a place of fear and like, oh my gosh, my son is going to be so disappointed. Oh my gosh, what's everybody going to think? Oh my gosh. It wasn't like I would be moving forward with, I know this is the best school for him, and so I'm going to do it. So we actually opted to not move forward with that and lost our spots. And it was a bummer. And a lot of questions came to my head about it, a lot of self-doubt, but ultimately that's the decision that we made, right? And I did pray, we made it prayerfully, and this particular son has never done public schooling, and so we allowed him to have the decision, hey, you can be homeschooled or you can go to public schooling, because going back to the previous school where they were, the tuition structure changed and it was like going to be the same amount. And so it didn't make any sense. And he didn't want to go back there anyways because he felt like that would be awkward. He's a teenager. So, so we signed him up for public schooling, and it ended up that he was excited to try it. We went shopping for real clothes for the first time ever for school. He could pick out his outfits. He could wear his shoes that he wanted to wear, that he loves his, many different shoes, that the kids are into. I sound so old when I say that. So today was his first day. We'll see how it goes. But I wanted to share another scenario, and I want to hear from you, because again, I sometimes feel like I'm talking to myself. I want to hear from you if you're listening, or have you faced a situation like that, and how did it go for you? And I don't want to forget to mention our sponsors again. I love them dearly. This company is the place for you to get coffee. If you get coffee anywhere else, please stop and get it from Black Oswald Coffee Co. I understand getting your latte at the local coffee shops. I'll allow it. But for your home brew, blackoswaldcoffeeco.com is the place to be. And for a special discount, use awesome15 all caps. Okay? Tell them Marta sent you. And I'm going to take a sip of my own coffee in my mama mug. Was that like an awkward pause or what? Anyways, my second story occurred. It has been occurring the past couple of years. I have a daughter who, for the longest time, was perceived to have extreme social anxiety and panic disorder, as well as agoraphobia. And hey, tell me that you're here. I'm waving to people who think that who are listening, but I want to hear from you that you're here. Hey, Nina Martin, can you tell me that you're here? Can you listen in for the rest of this episode for me? All right, so she was really going through a hard time for various reasons. There was always signs of this growing up for her, but as COVID took place, more and more and more, the social anxiety was just becoming insurmountable, to the point where I tried to send her to one prestigious Catholic school, and they wouldn't even help me whatsoever to even physically get her in the building on a day where there was like an assessment, and they're like, we have other kids to worry about. Okay, most prestigious Catholic school there is in the area. I hear you. I see you. So then we signed her up for public, who they do tend to have a better system for supporting these children. And they did help her out tremendously. But it got to the point where there would be progress and then there would be a deep regression. And it got to the point that I was literally physically forcing my daughter into vehicles, kicking and screaming to get her to school. We signed up for different therapies, wrap services. She had all the support at school, but I physically couldn't get her to school. And this one time, an episode happened at school that it was just very clear that the administration and the teachers were done. They were burnt out. Like they had it. And I was hearing different scenarios that would happen of different sides of the story. So I really wasn't quite sure what was happening. And then one time I went to take my daughter to school, and she really was trying to express that she really couldn't, do the thing that she had to face today. I was like, you got this. And she had actually been telling me for weeks that she was worried about it. But instead of hearing it, I was like, you got this, you got this, you got this. I don't know about you, but you got this isn't really that helpful. So I'm not that proud of that mom advice. But so on our way to school, she exited the vehicle. And I'm like trying to keep up with her, get her to get back in the car. It kind of became a situation where I was like afraid I was going to run into her and there was going to be cars behind me. So I thought I'll loop around. By the time I looped around, I could not find my daughter. Now, mind you, she's a teenager. She's familiar with the area. We live in a very safe neighborhood. I knew she was safe in my heart. But when I let the school know, hey, she's going to be late today, here's what happened. High alert. They alerted all of the policemen who alerted the fire department, EMS, all of the departments, and then they put out a bullet for her in surrounding counties. They started to pull camera footage from nearby businesses. They're able to locate her here and there, but we completely lost her that day. I had no idea where my daughter was, and she forgot her cell phone in my car. So they were trying to ping her location, and they were pinging my location, who was driving around looking for her. It was a giant mess. I have my local mom squad, who was phenomenal that day, and went out looking for her while I was home with the babies and toddlers. I had families, I have friends, everybody out looking for her, my husband, and we just couldn't find her until about 2:30 that afternoon when school was about to let out. Where was she? According to her, she was at the library the whole time and asked me if I could go back to the library and get the book she was reading because it was very good. Yes, I like to find the comedy in every single element of life. So that was kind of it for me. As much as the school was telling me the best thing for her was to be in school, and as much as my husband was telling me the best thing for her was to be in school, I am the mama, and I pulled her. And she made the decision, actually. We gave her the decision. You want to go back to school, or do you want to do online schooling? Let's take a beat. And she did online schooling. And through that progress, mind you, that experience at school helped her tremendously because she went from not even being able to go inside a Walmart or inside a pharmacy or inside a mall or inside a restaurant or out even exiting the vehicle sometimes to go into public buildings or even exiting the home into the vehicle. And then it got to the point where it's like, okay, you can stay home today. And we would get panicked phone calls because she was so scared to even be home alone. And so now, though, this was years ago now, I feel like. It feels like years ago. It wasn't years ago, but it feels like it. It feels like a whole different life because now just going and making that switch to online schooling allowed her to reset her nervous system, and she's thriving. She has pet sitting clients. She's at home, and I was like, she was at home with me watching our babies, like helping to cook, helping to clean, doing her online schooling. She started a drop shipping business online from which she makes money. She started to resell items that she would buy like at Goodwill on these platforms online and make money that way. And her pet sitting clients invite her back regularly. And then she does do babysitting, and she amazes me because she'll have these days where she's like, oh yeah, they were crying the entire time for their mama, but like it was easy, like time flew. And I'm like, didn't they like scream the entire time? And she's like, yeah, but that's fine, that's like what I deal with at home, but I'm getting paid. And she's just amazing at her babysitting. Like she thinks of like, okay, they were upset yesterday. So when I go back tomorrow, like they mentioned they like these stickers and they mentioned they like this kind of candy, and I'm gonna bring it to them, and I'm gonna like have a reward system. And she just amazes me. So again, you guys know that this show, if you listen to it, is about stories of challenges turned into passion and purpose. And I think it's the hardest when you're a parent. Because when it's your business, when it's your job, yeah, it's okay. But when you're a parent and you're watching your kids struggle, it is hard. And you got to trust God. You can move your hands, you can move your feet, but you ultimately need to leave it up to Him. And that's it for this episode. No guests, just these stories. And I just wanted to remind you that our sponsor is Black Oswald Coffee Company. It is the smoothest, most beautiful blend. There are so many flavors to choose from when you go to blackoswaldcoffeeco.com. Use code with all caps awesome15. Not only can you sip delicious coffee, but for every bean, for every grain, you are going to benefit families who are experiencing mental health journeys, just like we have. And I am Marta Saray Greca. I am your host, and I am the author of Course Corrected, that will be out September 4th. Can you please mark your calendars for September 4th morning, when we will release the link for you to purchase this book to benefit Treasure House Fashions, a nonprofit that helps women in crisis through fashion. And we'll also have an event September 4th. Our book launch at Treasure House Fashions is going to be food, delicious wine, an exclusive shopping experience, and an invigorating panel discussion between the authors about life, answering questions like, when you feel paralyzed and you feel like there's no solution, what do you do next? And on top of that, guys, again, I'm your host, Marta Saray Greca. I'm a financial rep. I help families every day to find hidden money, how to grow it and protect it. And at the company for whom who's my broker, we're always looking to grow the team. And I have openings right now, and I have actually a new team member that I'm super excited to welcome onto the team this afternoon. And this show, Awful Okay Awesome, is produced by Whole Truth Communications, which is my content creation business, and we basically produce podcasts and make reels for people. So let us do that for you. Sending you so much love. Have a fabulous day, everyone. Don't forget to leave that 5-star review, and if you're watching or listening on a platform that allows you to comment, please let me know you're here. Bye.